It's a great pleasure to share this moment with the entire Legaltech community. Thanks once again to Global Legaltech Hub and the participants of this great event for collaborating and sharing. Today we are going to talk about the present and the future of platforms that bring justice closer to the end consumer, people and companies. Thank you, our speakers today, Luis del Pozo from Legálitas, Pierre Aïdan from Legalstart, and James Peters from LegalZoom. Thank you so much for being here today, and let's go. This is Global Legal Tech Hub Day, and this is the questions of today. I proposed 3 blocks. The first is where are we now? The second one is where are we going? And the third, maybe it's the last, no, it's where we think we'll be in the 1,000 days. No, it's future to future. Okay, but this is the conversation. It's not only the interview. And then the first, we are now, how does AI impact from your business models? This is the question, and I love to understand all your companies or your projects about this. For example, Pierre, in your case, what's the relation to Legalstart with artificial intelligence now?
Thank you, Albert. Maybe a couple of words about Legalstart for the audience. So we are the first all-in-one online solution for entrepreneurs in France. We help small businesses to manage all their legal and accounting needs, from transactional services like incorporations or trademark filings to more recurring needs such as accounting or compliance. We're now the #1 solution in France with more than 400,000 customers since the inception. And today, in certain sectors, we incorporate about 1 in 10 French LLCs. We're still growing at a rapid pace in a market which is only 30 to 40% disintermediated. So back to your question about the impact of AI. There are clearly a lot of uncertainties at this stage. And in this environment, we are doing mainly 2 things. First, we are looking at for the real benefits of AI for our B2C customers. In other words, we are trying to define the best use cases for our industry. We are thinking of using generative AI to help businesses defining their needs and getting a first level of information in an instantaneous and seamless way. That's the first thing. And we're also using Gen AI to help small businesses to draft and review legal documents. So that's the first part of our investigations. On a separately, we are much more confident on the delivery side, and we are already using AI to improve our fulfillment processes. Here, the idea is to deliver our services faster in a cost-efficient, effective fashion. So this goes from using OCRs in our funnels to Gen AI to help our agents to find legal information and generate legal documents. So we see Gen AI driving production down significantly in the next few years. So as an introduction, that's where we are.
Amazing. James, in your case?
In my case, so I'm with LegalZoom, as you said. LegalZoom's a very large B2C legal tech company in the US. We were over $600 million in revenue last year. So from a size perspective, we're on the larger side of things for B2C businesses. We actually just had a press release last week that we released our first consumer-facing AI tool at LegalZoom. So we launched a beta of an offering called Doc Assist, which helps small businesses get an understanding of contracts that they've been presented with. So we are viewing AI predominantly in the customer-facing realm as a tool to help consumers and lawyers talk to each other more easily. So if you think about it in terms of allowing the consumer to have a clearer understanding of the legal documents they're dealing with in order to have easier conversations with a lawyer about the actual legal part of that agreement. So from our point of view, the power of AI in the consumer sense is really around acquisition. So it's a tool to get customers engaged with the platform and interacting with attorneys. Very new. It's only been out for 1 week, so hard to say, what the short-term impact will be. And it's a beta tool, but it's an exciting launch for us to get into that space officially. On the sort of larger scale use of AI for us, a lot of it has to do more with efficiency for experts. So utilizing AI in a way that helps the lawyers do their jobs better or accountants do their jobs better, etc. Our goal really predominantly is in tying AI to the expert delivery of services. There's also some use internally around the more core functions of a business as well. So things like better segregation and use of customer data internally to deliver services to those folks. I think a lot of the conversation around AI tends to be on the tools the customer interacts with, but in reality, the majority of AI being used today is probably more in powering the sort of the engine of the business. So things that people never see really. And those are useful tools, a little bit less exciting in terms of things that are actually out there and kind of in the eyes of the consumers who are working with the business. But very early stages for us in terms of AI actually being used direct to consumer. But we really do feel like the promise here is around enabling that interaction with your expert, whether that be your accountant or your lawyer or some other expert that works in your ecosystem.
Okay. And Luis, in Legalitas, the AI is an opportunity. It's an what's that for you?
Okay, just first also a couple of words about Legalitas because some viewers probably don't know about Legalitas. We are Legalitas, I would say, the largest legal tech providing B2C services in Spanish language. So our mission is to democratize the access to high quality legal advice, both for families and for SMEs. So if you look at our mission, on the one hand, we talk about democratize. And if we talk about democratize, usually it's linked to being affordable. But at the same time, we talk also about high quality. That usually means costly. So how can we connect those two dots? I mean, being affordable and being high quality at the same time. So the only way to do that is through efficiency, and efficiency is based on technology. So now you are asking about AI. The way we see AI in Legalitas, as also somehow James said, it's a new tool. We are in the early beginnings, but we see it's a very powerful tool to improve the efficiency of our high-skilled lawyers. So for sure, it's already contributing, and it's going to contribute much more in the future, the AI, to improve the efficiency of our processes and therefore being able to achieve our mission, that is providing these affordable services and high-quality services.
Okay, it's very important to understand, the vision to the customers about the legal services online. It's really impressive, when you use the technology for the first time and say, wow, in the other side, and a lawyer and a specialist of law, has an answers for my questions, and really it's a very change maker. It's the customers, in your countries, really it's it's ready for your services, in the legacy, for example, in Spain, Luis, the customer, it's really ready for the services of Legalitas. It's an enormous possibility to grow or not, or it's a really close territory on you don't have possibilities to grow. Now what's the moment?
In the case of Legalitas, we target two different type of end customers. On the one hand, we target SOHOs and SMEs that, of course, they are more ready, I would say, because they really know that they need legal support, and probably since they are more focused on that, both Legalstart and LegalZoom can elaborate more on that. But also in Legalitas, we have a high number of end customers that are families, households. As a figure, we have more than 250,000 households paying a subscription to Legalitas. So in that case, there are, I would say, two challenges. On the one hand, you talk about online. So in the case of Legalitas, our view is that we have to provide real omnichannelity, I would say a real multi-channel experience to our customers. So the idea is that any customer can access Legalitas services through the channel that is more convenient for them. They can use either WhatsApp, they can use a telephone call, a video conferencing, but we are also open to have like personal meetings when they are necessary. That usually it's when you have, more complex issues, but providing the whole experience is it's great for the customers. And the real challenge is in adopting, I would say, the need. I mean, customers are used to go to the lawyer on a reactive base. I mean, customers usually go to the lawyer when they have already an actual problem. And what we try to explain to the market in Spain is that you should have a preventive legal service like Legalitas in order to prevent future problems. That is, every time that you take a decision that has a legal component, you should check it with a lawyer, and that's the real value proposition of Legalitas. So a real challenge is not on being online or offline, it's more about educating the market on the need of having professional legal advice next to you. So
and creating a market at the end, because in Spain,
yes, it's creating a market. What we see is that this is we'll say a one-way road in which we are evolving time after time, but it takes time to create this culture, of course.
Obviously. And in France, Pierre, it's really near to Spain, but the reality is the same. It's absolutely different.
Well, as Peter was saying, a lot of the AI we're using, people don't see. So it's really about improving the delivery side, the fulfillment side. So you once you are on the platform and you've purchased the service, we're going to use AI to make your whole experience at Legalstart really fast and seamless, and that's something people are ready for. That's why it's the reason why they're with us in the first place. On the acquisition side, I mean, we as I mentioned, we are like trying to identify the real benefit in terms of use cases. What we know is that people want fast answers, but at the same time, they often need reassurance, and they also need to speak to someone. So it's probably going to be a combination of both. So layering the information and the advice with different types of interactions. So AI is going to be very useful for simple things, and then probably we're going to keep people inside the company to guide people, and of course our network of attorneys for legal advice.
And in this direction, in France, it's ready the market for your proposal. It's change the practice of the legal services. No more more like in the case of Legalitas in France, the market is in creation too. No, the market of Legalstart, or it's a very comfortable market with beautiful numbers. No, what's the situation?
Yeah, the online part of the market is estimated to be about 30 to 40%, which is online or disintermediated. And it's growing, but it's growing slow. So we got a peak with in the COVID years, and since the COVID years passed, like slow growth. It's already.
But it's more in comparison with Spain, no, Luis? Because the numbers.
I said before, we are talking about different markets. I focused more in the B2C in households. That is not the case of Legalstart. It's talking more about business creations or business formations, but it's still in that market. Yes, it's true that both France and the States are more advanced or evolved in the sense that are, as he said, like 30% of the customers look for how to create your company in internet, whereas in Spain they usually go to they try to look for it offline. So maybe in Spain it's more like 10 or 20% the number of new business formations that can be found through internet. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's a tendency, no?
Maybe one more thing about France, the French market. If we're talking about incorporation, now 100% of incorporations, they have to be done online through a unique government website. So so far it did not have a significant impact on the demand for legal help, but it goes clearly in the direction of disintermediation and going online for everything that is related to incorporation and corporate needs for SMBs.
And James, in United States, what's the numbers? No, what's the situation? No, it's really the customers to this new services online. Well, it's not new. It's a lot of years. No, but it's really an special and growth market. No, and what's the numbers in the United States, more or less?
So in the US, the numbers are good. It's a healthy market. There's room for competition in the space, and we've obviously done a lot of business. We do both small businesses and households, but our focus has really been more on the small business angle here for quite a while now. And the online formations market, it varies a lot in the US by state, which is a little bit unique to the other folks who are here. So we actually had really interesting panel just this week with some folks who were representatives from the formations offices in 4 of our more important states here. And they range a lot in terms of percentage of folks who are doing online filings, from as low as around 40 to 50% to above 80% in different states. So from a market perspective, a lot of people are doing these, performing these activities online, but it does vary a lot from one region to the next in the United States. On the whole, though, so while it's a very healthy market and there's plenty of room to grow from a business perspective, the flip side of that is we often talk about the biggest competitor really is not legal services. So as a sort of standard number in the US, there's an estimate that around 80% of legal needs do not get serviced by any sort of professional. So those are all folks who there's an opportunity to provide services for. And I think that doesn't even get to the issue that Luis was talking about the reactive nature of legal services. So that's after something's happened. 80% of people aren't doing anything about it in a real way. that doesn't even deal with the fact that most of these people could be doing something to try to prevent that thing from ever happening in the first place. So there's a lot of opportunity there as well. That's actually one of the spots where I see AI as being potentially very helpful. So if you think about the biggest issue in terms of accessing legal services being the knowledge that you have a legal need to deal with, AI can be very useful in that sense. So if I can get people to engage with an AI tool, and the AI tool can flag for them that there are things that they really should talk to a lawyer about or to a tax professional about, that goes a long way in terms of getting some of that 80% to start accessing services that would help them, perform better in terms of the legal health of their business, or even potentially from a household perspective. A little bit more challenging from a household perspective because you don't have the same sort of flow of legal documents coming to you. You're not contracting, with family as a general matter. But real opportunity there. So the market is very healthy. But in terms of people being ready in a true sense for online legal services, there's a real challenge with people even being ready for legal services in any way whatsoever. And that has mostly to do with knowledge about what's a legal matter and what's something you should just sort of hope will go away or work itself out. And there's opportunity there for sure.
No, absolutely. Perfect. We have talked about the present. Let's move to the little forward. No, it's important to understand the near future. No, in this market. Where are we going? We don't think there's more business in the next 44 months, 2 years. No, where is the business now? And another thing for me important is will competition increase? No, really, if this market is a healthy market, no, in all the north hemisphere in the earth, no, and in the south too, maybe it's possible to increase this competition because, for example, in any territory, in some territories, the presence of enormous companies like LegalZoom or Legalstart or whatever or Legálitas are very, very complicated. No, this is the second question. No, what's the next future, Luis, for you?
Well, in our case, if I focus in our main target, that is the B2C, the households, well, for the next, you said 24 months, what I would say is that we will keep on penetrating and creating this market, as you said. I mean, the overall penetration of the legal service market for subscriptions in Spain is pretty low. It's around 5%. So there is a lot of room for growth. So, of course, I expect that Legaltech is going to be the driver creating this market. And if you talk about competition, I mean, there is a huge market opportunity. The reality is that as of today, we've not seen any real competitor with a scale that is able to compete with us. In fact, I wish it were, because the issue here or the challenge here is creating the market. So having a healthy competition would be even good for the market overall.
But maybe this competitor don't arrive for the regular operation like a startup, arrive for the top. No, it's another possibility because in the Legaltech, the connection with the enormous companies to software, it's really, really, really near and really common.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, as an overall message, I think the market is developing very well. We are leading this growth, so there is a lot of room for growth for the coming 24 months, and then we'll see how it evolves in terms of market structure.
Incredible, and create market, yeah. And Pierre, in France, what's the near future?
Well, in France, we may see a trend towards an aggregation of legal, accounting, and banking services. A lot of players have been competing for new entrepreneurs and trying to offer a wide range of services at the incorporation stage. So I'd say that it's likely to see some interesting build up in the coming years.
Okay. And in United States, what's the future? What's this 24-month vision, to LegalZoom?
Yeah, I think to Pierre's point, there's a lot of competition in the early stage piece of B2C for small businesses. And what you tend to see in most countries as that competition picks up is the price for that initial formations work really goes down quite low to basically commoditize. So you'll see with LegalZoom, we now have a $0 incorporation package available. And the reason for that is it's a relatively competitive market and easy space to compete. But what you end up seeing is, I think also what Pierre was saying, integrating more services that follow on with that that formation piece. So it's really a matter of looking at small businesses more as a life cycle rather than just a formation that needs to be completed. And then on our end in particular, we've got a real focus on integrating experts into that. So you talk about what sorts of complete services somebody might want or need to get a business running. It's not just the formations piece, but it is potentially legal advice. It's potentially an accountant to do taxes. It's potentially compliance in the US. So your licenses and permits that you need to run your business. All of these things are important pieces of the process of starting and running a business. And I think you'll see players continue to try to add more and more there, because there's not really a whole lot of room to move with something as simple as just forming a business. You need to provide some other value. That's starting to show already in the US, and I think will continue over the next couple of years. And I think on the household side, it's a little less clear from the US point of view. That's a market that I think has been largely flat for quite a few years on the US side. It's not as easy to tap into, what approaches you can take to sort of increase engagement with that piece of the market. That's where you've got some interesting potential for saying, if we can get some tools out there that make it easier for household type services, people in need of household type services to engage with us, would they then recognize that they have, more needs of a legal nature that they want to go down that path with us for? That's a big question mark over the next couple of years, but one of our big focal points really is this whole integrating of experts piece. And we've done that a bit on the business side. So we've done a very large push into integrating attorneys in terms of trademark filings in the US. We now have the largest trademark filing firm in the world in the US. And we've got a tax and accounting business that connects people, small businesses in particular, with experts there. So the business side has really started to get robust already in terms of working experts into the flow. And the consumer side is something that we're still working on in terms of figuring out the best approach there. So for a group that maybe historically has not viewed themselves as wanting to engage with attorneys, how to get them more engaged with the higher higher touch services that are often required even for a household.
And in your case, in United States, the big players of the software, the enormous companies like Google or Microsoft, has tools for lawyers, and has tools for customers, and maybe can create a bridge about the legal services and the final consumers. What's your opinion?
I think so. Most of the tools still are more in that kind of co-piloting sort of realm, and I think that creates a good potential way to work with customers. That's a bit easier than, so in the past, I might come in as a customer, sort of download via an interview my needs to an attorney. Attorney goes away, comes back to me with just stuff, right?
Yeah.
A bill and some documents for me to cover my problem. The nice thing about some of the tools that you see people working on in terms of co-pilot type work is that they tend to focus a little bit more on collaborating with your attorney or collaborating with your client, depending on your side of it. And that's where I think there's real potential. So again, it's this concept of having the ability to engage with legal services in a way that is more transparent and more understandable for people. I think a large,
it's better in legal design, for example. No?
Yeah. Legal design is another example of a movement toward that. And I think there's this concept of a lot of the non-consumption is informed by people feeling that attorneys are inaccessible, not somebody you want to engage with for anything unless it's an emergency, basically. And I don't believe it has to be that way. I don't think we'll get to that point in 2 years, but I think we are seeing the development of some tools that help us move in that direction, which is a good thing.
No. I speak about the future and dream about it. Perfect. The third block, it's the future. It's not near. It's not maybe possible. No, it's that we dream when dream in something. No, in the legal technology, legal services in the future. No, where do you think will be in 1,000 days? 1,000 days are 3 years, more or less. No, and future. What do you think it's going to happen? What it's going to change? No, this is for me the question. No, in B2B, this question it's a large explain for a lot of colleagues in advisory board in Global Legaltech, but in your sector, more near to the final client, to the customer, at the end. I find this answer. At the end of all my question, it's another. It's, are you optimistic? Are you optimistic, really? Do you think it will improve access to justice? At the end of the day of this 1,000 or 2,000 days. This is the last question. This is the last moment for dream. And maybe James, we can start with your opinion.
Sure. I think in 1,000 days timeline, I'm a bit of a cautious pragmatist at best. I think when you're talking about changing behaviors in the universe of consumers for legal services, 3 years is not actually a lot of time. I do think you'll see a little bit of behavior shift in that time, where in a way, actually the expectation for consumers will get higher, and it'll be a little bit hard to know how to deal with that. So as people get used to things like a concept that you should be able to get instant answers with something like AI, and why can't I get instant answers with my legal services as well? I think that'll actually present some challenges in the next 3 years, but also some opportunities for engagement again. If you look at it in more of a 2000 days kind of context, you're getting up in that 5 to 7 years sort of range. Then I think you've got a world that's a bit harder to predict and a bit easier to be optimistic about at that stage. I think if we can continue the momentum around these concepts like legal design, like using AI to make it easier to interact with attorneys, you've got a real opportunity to increase awareness in consumers and increase the desirability of interacting with attorneys in a way that could make a real impact on how many people are accessing legal services. So talk about access to justice impact. I tend to view that from a rather narrow lens, which is more these small businesses and families that aren't accessing legal services when they could. I think we can make a real dent there if we focus on it over the next few years. The more sort of traditional look at access to justice, where you're talking about, in courts or with real serious life impacting legal needs, that's a more interesting one. In the US, I'm not terribly optimistic about that, to be honest. That requires a lot of government participation in this, and government participation in any sort of innovation that increases access to justice on the US side historically has been very low, and I don't see that improving really. So my thoughts on that are, it has to happen sort of at the level of, let's say, attorneys, law firms, businesses that are engaging directly with consumers of legal services, but there is some real opportunity there in the next 5 years.
Thank you so much, Pierre. Your opinion about this future 2000 or 2000 days. What's your vision, and are you optimistic or not? No, and your opinion about the government, because it's an very special movements in France in this last months and weeks, about the justice and open the relations with the justice, and it's a good. I need to understand your opinion.
Sure. Well, we're also trying to be very pragmatic when thinking of the impact of AI in our industry. I think we see lawyers, law firms incorporating AI to their processes and becoming more than just legal experts. You'll see AI-enabled lawyers will be servicing small businesses in probably a more customer-centric way. And at the same time, I think you'll see B2C legal techs using AI to simplify the customer journey, and also team up with lawyers to assist their clients with AI-generated content and documents. Like, I'm on the same page with Peter on this one. As a result, there's potential for significant improvement in the quality and efficiency of online legal services. The other obvious trend for us is like the co-piloting that we discussed. So seeing AI driving down costs for production of legal services, which we think will have a significant impact on the way we're working internally. Back to what you were saying about the government. So big push of the French government to make legal services for entrepreneurs more accessible. So the idea is you have a unique website, government website, where entrepreneurs can very simply incorporate their businesses, and do a bunch of stuff to run their businesses. Reality so far is that it's online, but it's complicated. So you still, like, people are still turning to us in the same numbers for legal help and assistance, and using our tools are our people to understand how the business is going to work, the tax implications, whole bunch of needs, as we discussed. Like they come at the incorporation stage and they need the whole bunch of stuff, from legal to accounting, banking, and tax. And the fact that government is making it easier and digital to incorporate does not change the needs of our customer base. And I think incorporating AI tools is going to be able to channel them and give them are we optimistic in the way that with AI we're going to be able to make it easier for them to understand what they really need, to in turn go to us and get the right advice and service.
And in Spain, Luis, what's your opinion? You are optimistic or not in this future to 1,000 or 2,000 days? And what's the relation with the government? No, because it's near to move the law for regulate or create a better access to justice. No, what's your opinion?
Okay. Of course, I'm optimistic. I see a bright future ahead of us. If I have to think about the future, of course, we are also tend to be pragmatic as my colleagues. And I will try to look at the future into different angles. I mean, if we talk about the future from the customer point of view, from the demand side, I do agree that changing behaviors, as James said, it's a slow process. So in terms of market adoption that we've been talking before, I think it's going to keep the current pace, maybe speed up a little bit, but it's going to take time to get to a very high penetration of online legal services. But as I said before, it is a one-way journey that's going to take time, but it goes steady forward. If I look at the future from a technological point of view, I mean, you started by asking about AI. My view on AI is quite similar to my view of, I would say, internet in the late 90s. I mean, we are now in the moment of the hype. So it's the buzzword. I mean, talking about AI is going to change everything. And the reality behind is that this is a really disruptive technology, but with time, and I think 2,000 days is time enough, you have to separate like the wheat from the chaff. I mean, there are going to be a lot of hype users or companies that are going to die, but at the same time, for sure, the life after real AI implementation is going to be very different from the life today. So in that sense, my view is that as of today, AI is not going to change anything overnight, but companies in any sector and the law firms in our sector either embrace AI and start working in the early days in order to see how to adopt our internal processes and our value proposition to the capabilities that AI bring us, or maybe in 1,000 days or 2,000 days is going to be too late and you're going to be out of the market. So yes, what I would say is that in 1,000 days or 2,000 days, AI is going to be a real tool that is going to be implemented or embedded in the processes of the companies that are going to be alive and competitive at the time.
Absolutely. It's time, and it's perfect time because it's 45 minutes. It's amazing because Really, it's a lot of things that we speak today. Really, thank you all for your time. It has been very short for me. It's like a instant. No, it's wow. It has been wonderful sharing these minutes. Thank you very much, really, for your time. Congratulations for your projects. LegalZoom, Legalstart, and Legalitas are shine in the darkness. At the end, this is very important, because in Global Legaltech Hub we find always the access to justice. Because it's very important to connect people and law. And this bridge, really, it's your work at the end. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, James from United States, from Austin, for this time. Thank you, Pierre, from France. It's absolutely amazing, your project, and thank you, Luis, from Madrid, for this time. It's the first, but it's not the last. Thank you so much, and see you the next year.
Thank you,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Albert.
Thank you.
Bye.